Your thoughts are not you, and you don't have to marry them. That's what I'm going to talk about today, because changing your thoughts makes it so much easier to change your habits. Lots of times, if we just start trying to tackle our habits, like if I have a habit of eating chips and chocolate and drinking wine every night, just telling myself, I'm going to stop. Tomorrow, I'm going to stop. Just generally doesn't work. So it's partly because you're relying on willpower in that circumstance, especially when it comes to habit and when it comes to an addictive behavior. So the way that I was eating and drinking this really indulgent stuff every night was very habitual, and it was addictive stuff like sugar and chips and wine. So not easy to just say, I'm going to do that differently tomorrow. So one of the best ways to really start to dig in and achieve a change in those habits was to start with my thoughts. Hi, it's Dr. Ginny here, and I'm the Happy Body Coach. I help women over age 40 to discover a really wise way of eating and drinking. Gives your body what it actually needs to be healthy and happy. And that changes everything. You can release all your excess weight. You can really regain a lifestyle of vitality and confidence and freedom with this way of eating. And so I really know from my own experience, and I know from my clients' experience, that just changing those habits by force really isn't usually very effective. But when we change our thoughts and we change our feelings, and then we start to change some of the circumstances, the environment around us, that can really make it a context that makes it so much easier to change our habits. So let's talk about thoughts today. I want to give an example of ways that our thoughts can absolutely keep us stuck. And I think you'll start to see why getting some way of mastering the way that we're thinking can be a huge key to mastering our habits. So here's a story I have. A friend of mine leaving the mall one day, the guy, as he's pulling his car out of his parking space, the guy behind him is just beeping and beeping, beep, 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 beep. And he's thinking to himself, how rude, how impatient can you be? Get a grip. I can't believe it. And sort of all the way driving home was starting to tell a whole story about it. Like, people are so rude these days. The world is just going to hell. I cannot believe how people treat each other. Then he started putting that story together with some other thing that happened earlier in the day where he felt somebody wasn't kind to someone else, and something that happened yesterday, and building this whole story of the world is going to hell. And so by the time he got home, he was more angry than ever. He kind of yelled at the dog. He was impatient with his wife, had a really lousy evening, went to bed, didn't sleep that well, woke up still feeling upset, started looking for his coffee mug to take to work and couldn't find it. He started retracing his steps. Well, where could I have left it? And it kind of occurred to him, I had it at the mall. Maybe I put my coffee cup on top of the car. Maybe I never got it down. Maybe that's what that beeping was. Maybe that person was actually trying to help me. Starts to realize, wow, it was the story I was telling myself. It was my own thoughts that were causing me to get so upset that it ruined my evening and it ruined my night. And, just one of those examples of how you can start to realize, wow, it could be what I'm telling myself that causes a lot of my suffering in life. And there's a lot that we discover about this, about how it really, more than anything, it is what we end up telling ourselves, the thoughts that we have that cause us more suffering than anything. And so I know for myself, really starting to realize I need to make a change in my eating and drinking, but struggling with it. Struggling with it day after day, month after month, year after year. I can't figure out how I'm supposed to eat. I can't figure out how to stop eating some of the things that I know aren't good for me, stop drinking the wine every night. I can't figure out how to start eating a lot more of the nutritious foods. I know that's part of it. The more I study this, the more I realize that, but just feeling so stuck. So starting to kind of think, all right, I got to check what I'm saying to myself. Let's start from that angle, because just telling myself I'm not going to eat and drink all those things, tomorrow, I'm just not going to do that. Tonight, I'm just not going to do that. It just wasn't working. I wasn't in integrity. I would make this commitment to myself, and then I would break it over and over and over. I would tell myself in the morning, okay, I do not need to drink wine tonight. I'm just not going to drink wine. I'm not going to eat chocolate tonight. I'm just going to do healthy things tonight and go to bed. I don't have to do that. And by the evening saying, I am going to drink the wine. I'm going to eat all the things. I had a rough day. I deserve this. I don't know how I would possibly relax. I need this to calm down. Maybe tomorrow will be a better day, but today was a hard day and I'm not going to, I take care of everyone else, a whole story, getting going, defending my habit, my behavior, right? So I thought, okay, I got to start checking what I'm saying to myself. I can still go ahead and eat and drink the stuff, but I just want to start becoming more aware of what I'm even saying to myself, because it might present an opportunity that will make it easier for me to change these habits, especially when it went on year after year. And by this point, I could barely walk anymore. I had so much pain and inflammation throughout my system. I was working with people in nursing homes who I used to think were going to be a lot older than me, way different from me. I was starting to see they are not that different from me. I was starting to realize it's what people are eating and drinking more than anything else that's causing their health to go down this far, this early, because a lot of them were in their 60s and 70s. So starting to get more clear, I've got to change my eating and drinking, and no one else is going to do it for me. But finding myself continually falling back on the same habit of eating and drinking excessively every night. So starting to notice, well, what am I saying to myself? Let's start looking at my thoughts. So the first thing really about getting some distance from your thoughts is just becoming aware of what you're even saying to yourself and starting to write it down, get it out of your head. So it's not just running you from, I must have the food and drink to I am having the food and drink, just starting to write down, what am I saying to myself? I want this, I need this, I deserve this. And I'm not going to fight with these thoughts, because that will just cause a lot more stress, which is just going to make me want the food and drink more. Instead of fighting with it, I'm just going to start becoming aware and becoming curious about the thoughts. And this is what you can start to do too. Notice what thoughts you're saying to yourself that might be sustaining the behavior you're trying to change. And just get curious, just notice them, write them down, get them out of your head and down on paper where you can work with them. Some other things you can do with these thoughts is just get curious and start asking questions. Wow, I want this, I need this, I can't calm down without it. I'm going to write that down. That's what I'm saying to myself. Now, before that, I'm going to put the statement, I'm having the thought that I want this, I need this, I can't live without it. I'm having the thought that. Now, just by doing that, there's an I and there's a thought. We are not the same thing. The thoughts are not me. They're out there, something I can work with, right? I might then even put before that, I notice I'm having the thought that I can't do without this food and drink. That's interesting. Just get curious, just notice it. Then I might ask myself, well, how does that make me feel? Well, it makes me feel kind of scared and worried and nervous and defensive about keeping the behavior that I'm trying to move away from. Okay, so it's causing me to feel stressed and upset. I might ask myself, how's it cause me to react? How do I react when I think that thought? I need it, I want it, I can't do without it, I deserve it. How it causes me to react is to reach for the food and drink that I said I was going to abstain from today. Okay, so this is looking like a really unhelpful set of thoughts. Now, the next thing I might ask myself is it even true? Is it even true? Like, one of the thoughts I told myself all the time was, especially if I got more committed to abstaining and looking at my thoughts, then I would get more anxiety at first, right? Well, I need it. I want it. It was a hard day. I won't be able to calm down. I won't be okay. I won't be able to sleep without it. So I'd write all this down. Oh, wow. Having a lot of feelings here and telling myself, it won't be okay. It will be terrible. I wrote that down. It will be terrible if I don't drink. I won't be able to calm down. I won't be able to sleep. It will be miserable. Just noticing what I'm saying to myself. Now, one thing I know about thoughts and beliefs is we have a natural human thinking bias of searching for proof that what we believe is true. This is how people can end up just very firmly believing things that that are in strong opposition to each other. Well, how do I believe this so strongly and you believe that so strongly? One of us has got to be wrong. Well, really, both of us could be wrong because our brain naturally searches for proof that what we believe is true. We'll just find confirming evidence. It's called confirmation bias. So this belief I had, for example, that I won't be able to sleep without my wine at night, I believed it very strongly. And I found all kinds of proof that it was true. Now, I want to start challenging confirmation bias if I have a belief that seems to be keeping me stuck. So I won't be able to sleep without my wine is a thought that I'm going to write down, and I'm going to try to explore. I'm going to look for evidence that it might not be 100% true. I believe it very strongly, but it might not be 100% true. I'm so glad I let myself explore that because my sleep now is so good every night. And I had terrible insomnia back in those days when I was eating and drinking that way. My sleep was terrible, but I believed I needed the wine to sleep. I have a client right now who's like, has the same thing with chocolate. I need the chocolate to be able to feel okay. I mean, that was part of my belief too. So just getting the thoughts down on paper, I notice I'm having the thought that I won't be able to sleep without the wine or without the chocolate. So once I've identified, oh, here's a thought that's causing me stress and causing me to be stuck in a behavior I'm trying to change, I've written it down, I'm checking it. Is it even true? I'm going to just create space to start to explore this question. What does the research say? What if I Google it? What's the effect of chocolate on sleep? What's the effect of wine on sleep? I'm just going to start exploring whether it's even true. So if it's stressful and it's not even totally true, I might start looking for other thoughts, and I might start looking for thoughts that are more true and less stressful. And we call that a turnaround. I'm not going to go into that a lot today, but I'm just going to give you a couple of more things you can do with the thought. Now, what if I have a thought or a belief that my life will be miserable. It'll be sad and miserable without my really indulgent eating and drinking. Life will be really sad and miserable without my indulgent eating and drinking. I definitely had that thought and that belief. Now, another thing I can do with that, once I've got it out of my head, I'm just getting some distance from it. I don't want it to keep me stuck. I just want to have some space. I might put it into silly or sad voices. Life will be miserable without my super indulgent eating and drinking. Life will be miserable without my eating and drinking. Life will be miserable without my eating and drinking. I'm just getting a little distance. I'm getting a little lightness. That thought was painful, stressful, upsetting, which made me want to drink. So I want to get space from it because I want to get some space from this eating and drinking behavior. Another thing I can do is just say the most painful word over and over and over. Miserable, 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 miserable. Can you see how some of these techniques could help you get a little space from something you're saying to yourself that's keeping you stuck and keeping you really stressed? So as long as we don't have awareness of what we're even saying to ourselves, we can go from thought to behavior, to eating or drinking the things we don't want to eat or drink, almost feeling like we didn't have a choice. So if you really want to feel empowered, you really want to be the one choosing what you put in your body, you really want to get to a place where you can choose to put into your body what's helpful for it, what makes it truly happy. Really starting to question your thoughts and get some distance from your thoughts can really help. If I'm saying to myself, I'm going to be miserable if I don't do the eating and drinking thing tonight that I always do, I might say, thank you, mind, for that thought. I'm going to be miserable if I don't do what I always do. Thanks for that thought. I'm not sure it's true, though, and I'm not sure I want to behave in accord with it. Maybe I will give it some thought tomorrow. I always think about a Buddhist leader that I knew who used to walk around talking to herself all the time in Japanese. I didn't know what she was saying, but some people explained to me, like, thoughts, barrier thoughts, obstacle thoughts are coming up. She's got to accomplish something. And she has this thought, you can't do that. You don't know how to do that. You're not going to be able to do that. You don't have enough time to do that. Just go, just forget it. She would just kind of talk back to those thoughts without giving them a lot of energy. Thank you for the thought. I will deal with you later because right now I've got to get this thing done. So all the thoughts about you can't do it she would just say, okay, step aside. I'll deal with you later. First, I'm going to get this done. And then I'm going to look at the thought that I can't do it, which I found funny. She was a very, very powerful person. And that was just such a great role model for me. I think about a girl who was trying to figure out, my thoughts are not me. I don't have to carry these painful thoughts. She had a thought just about, I'm so unlovable. I'm such a mess. Nobody would ever want me, etc. And so what she decided to do to get it through her head that she didn't have to carry that thought all the time is she wrote unlovable on a 10-pound rock and started carrying it around. And periodically she would say, you know what, I want to do this conversation. I want to do this project today without the thought that I'm unlovable. And she would put it down. And little by little, she started realizing, I don't have to carry that thought into every situation. I don't have to carry the I'm unlovable belief into every situation in my life. And that started to make it possible for her to see things in different ways and get unstuck. So if you want to feel more in control of your choices of what you eat and drink, or any area of your life, but we work on eating and drinking, just start getting more curious, more aware of what you're saying to yourself, what thoughts might be keeping you stuck. Just start getting a little distance from them, a little lightness about them. All right, so I'd love to hear if you play with this, if you find it helpful, and I want you to know you deserve a happy body. Mwah.